Hello and welcome back to the Productive Therapist Podcast. I'm so thrilled that you're listening today, and I hope you're having a good one. So, today I got to have a conversation with Lisa Catallo, a psychotherapist and business coach dedicated to helping Canadian therapists build profitable, sustainable group practices. She's awesome. Through her platform, the Group Practice Network, Lisa helps owners move from being the answer to everything to leading with true intention. She's also the host of the Empowered to Lead podcast, and she leads a specialized community focused on the systems, finances, and team dynamics of growth. Combining clinical expertise with hard-won ownership experience, Lisa understands the complex reality of scaling a practice, and she doesn't pretend it's simple. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Lisa Catallo. Hi, Lisa. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Uriah. It's good to be here. I'm excited for our conversation.
Absolutely. We have quite a bit in common. And for my listeners, I would love to hear a little bit about your story of becoming a therapist and starting 2 group practices. I think that's unique. And then eventually starting the Group Practice Network. How did that all kind of unfold?
Yeah, I'm a late bloomer as a therapist. I got my master's a week before I crossed the stage. I turned 50. And so when I started as a therapist, I didn't really want to work in an agency setting. So joined a group practice. And it became evident pretty quick that I would be better on my own. I had lots of ideas, and she knew what she wanted, which is totally fine. So I started exploring how to. I knew I didn't want to be alone. I had worked in an office and just came and went, and that just didn't work for me. I wanted people around me, and that had always been the vision. And so I started a group practice with a partner. And we started with renters because we didn't know what we were doing, and thought that that was safe, and then quickly moved over to contractors. And as we were building that, recognizing that there wasn't a lot of resources out there for group practice owners. So at the time, I think it was only Maureen Warbach that I could find. And for Canadians, she has a wealth of information, but also there was some missing from the Canadian perspective for us. And also recognizing, like, as I reached out to group practice owners, it really felt like I need to protect it. And so I am very much about relationship and community. And so wanted to build something to help people get group practices started and also feel that support and connection. So I started that, I think, a year into us having our group practice. And then when COVID hit, my business partner made a decision not to be business partners anymore.
Okay.
And so then I went and started Panorama Wellness Group. And over the 5 years, we grew to 2 locations, multidisciplinary, and really loved so many aspects of it. And then I would say I hit a bit of burnout a couple of years ago. There was stuff going on personally. And I remember when I started the Panorama, I had a business coach, and he's like, you can't really build 2 businesses at the same time because you can't focus on
So
one.
true.
Right? I'm like, well, watch me.
Yeah.
And he was right. So it's hard to really focus and build because your energy gets split between the 2. And so last fall, I downsized my group practice because I love the coaching side of things. I love working with entrepreneurs and just the excitement and the vision. And then also seeing how we get stuck. We build this, and because it's all exciting, and then all of a sudden now we have to maintain, and we don't have systems. We're feeling like we gave too high of a split to somebody, and now this business is running me rather than me running the business. And so I am stepping more into that role now of how do you create a business that works for you, and coaching group practice owners through that. So I think that answered your question.
That's fantastic. Tell me this. In the first year of starting your first group practice, you kind of envisioned this idea of finding a way to support more group practice owners, specifically in Canada. Like, how did that even come about? Because like, I remember the first year of starting group practice, you're doing everything. How did you even have the mind space to like think of something like that and then execute it?
I was working a lot.
Yeah, right.
Right. And um, I at that point, I really felt like I had a short runway of time to have energy to do that
Right.
many things. And so it was a passion project, I guess is what you would call it, is kind of off the
Hmm.
side. It was fulfilling because I got to connect with other group practice owners and help people that way. It wasn't the capacity that it is now, for sure. And so, yeah, I was seeing clients, I was building a group practice, and I started, at that point, it was called Your Practice Your Way,
Yeah.
juggling a lot of hats.
That's the real answer, right?
Yeah.
I was working many, many hours
Yes.
most days.
Yeah, I had to learn the schedule send button
Yes.
because people are like, "You're up at 5 sending me emails." And I'm like,
Right.
"Okay, I need to schedule that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get further into the topic that I wanted to talk to you about, I'm curious what drives your desire to support other therapists? I feel that in a
Mm,
similar way. And I feel like that's actually the golden thread through my career is wanting to help my friends and colleagues and therapists to succeed and have an amazing life and an amazing business. But like, where does that
yes.
come from for you?
Yeah, for me, I think it was the frustration. It started with some of the frustration of there's got to be a simpler way to do this. These other people have a group practice, and it feels like I'm reinventing the wheel. And so I wanted people to be able to step into this with the tools that they needed without having to create everything from scratch. Now it's a lot more of hearing people saying, I'm not sure this is worth it.
Hmm.
And I feel exhausted, or I feel like I'm starting to resent the people around there. Nobody values me, and I want them to be seen. I want them to be valued. I want them to be able to keep doing this. So many group practice owners start this because they want to spread their wealth, the help to
Yeah.
their community and meet more people's needs, and build a community in their team where people are supported, and then who's supporting you as a group practice owner. So that really is what drives me. That's why I've got so
Hmm.
many connection points as opposed to just kind of coaching an individual go off and do what you do. Let's be seen and connected.
Yeah, I like your focus on relationship. That's so important. I'm super
Yeah.
thankful for people like you and like you mentioned Maureen Werbach and some other people. I think when I started my group practice, I wasn't even aware of the group practice exchange. I was
Mm.
aware of somebody named Casey Truffaut and Joe Bavanese here in the States, and they
Okay.
kind of combined forces to like show people how to start a group practice. But there was very little, like the
Hmm.
wealth of support and resources that we have now and the clinicians coming up have
Yeah.
amazing. Like you and I were kind of figuring it out on our own to a certain degree, right?
Yep.
And then sharing the knowledge, which is an important step.
I gotta say, I was following you because you were ahead of me on technology. And so you're
Oh my
like, oh,
goodness, that's
Uriah
great.
said to try Waybook. I got
Oh, I
Waybook
love it.
way
Yes,
back then. And yeah, your tools really helped too. And just
that's
you
cool.
doing that research and kind of like what I'm doing too. Like I've been there.
Hmm.
I can help you as I look back and find some of
Right.
those ways to help you do this better.
The truth is that everyone needs a guide of some sort, and we all need multiple guides probably in
Hmm.
life and in business because there's always somebody that has learned something you want to learn or
Yeah.
accomplished something that you want to accomplish. And it's super smart to find somebody who's just a little bit ahead of you or a lot, but even just a little bit and go like, okay, well, I want to learn how to do what that person is doing. Not copy them,
Yes.
but just like allow them to be your guide, either virtual mentor or like actually in relationship in like a paid situation or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
That's an unlock like for growth for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about you sent an email this morning that changed my entire plan for this episode, which is wonderful. And you agreed to talk about this because I think you're interested in it. Of course, you
Yeah.
sent a wonderful email to your list. By the way, go in the show notes, subscribe to Lisa's email list. It's
Mhm.
wonderful about moving from clinician to CEO and kind of stepping in not just hanging out on the edges of the CEO role, but like really embracing that and moving into it. Would love to hear about your thoughts on that, starting with like, as clinicians, we go through our graduate program and our licensure process. Almost none of us are like, you know what, my dream one day is to be a CEO and start a multi-location practice. We're
Yeah.
just not wired that way. So
Hmm.
tell me about the challenges that people have with understanding that that's a good thing and what it takes to embrace that.
Yeah. I actually want to try and find a better term than CEO because sometimes I think that turns people off. They have this
Right.
vision of like this boss who's dictator and that kind of thing. Um, and CEO fits because you're guiding, you're executing,
Mm-hmm.
you're the leader. And so often what I hear is because we're therapists and we're trained to come alongside people, when we start a group practice, I don't want to stand out. I want
Mm.
to lead a team where everybody gets a voice. I want to have people feel valued. And I don't think I can do that as the leader. And what happens then is nobody is guiding the ship. Nobody is
Mm-hmm.
saying, this is why we exist. This is who we're serving. This is why or how we do this kind of thing. And you need to step into that leadership CEO role. It's hard to switch that mindset. And I don't as I look at and work with group practice owners, I don't think it really happens until you're a couple years in. And then you recognize, oh, like, there's all these people who have these voices in my group practice, and this actually isn't how I want this to run. And so what does that mean? How am I going to show up? Um, yeah, it's,
You don't want to start a business, hire some people, and then have a leadership vacuum because
yeah.
every group needs some sort of guidance and direction and shared purpose and all of those things. But it doesn't come natural. I'll tell you this: I was a reluctant leader,
Mhm.
probably for 10 years,
Yeah.
because I thought to myself, I don't really want to be a boss. I don't want to be in charge of anyone. And actually, definitely for the first couple years, I thought, you know what? Here's my strategy. I'm going to hire only licensed people,
Mhm.
smart people, motivated people who I can just give an office space and a few tools. And I don't have to tell them what to do. I don't have to like oversee their, I don't have to do like have meetings and do all these things. And I realized pretty soon that people actually want feedback
Yes.
and they need someone to be kind of at the front, so to speak, showing the way
Yeah.
and kind of mapping out the mission, vision, and values. So I reluctantly stepped into that. I'm so grateful that I did because it was a huge growth process for me, but I wasn't like, just wired to be like, okay, everybody, like in social settings or whatever, like, okay, I'm the leader. Let's go. Let's play this game or let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Very much like the introverted therapist. But I figured out how to make it work with my style. And I think
Yeah.
that was really helpful for me. Yeah. Do you
A
think,
lot of people I
yeah,
work with would call themselves accidental group practice owners too, which
yep,
fits with what you're saying there. Hey, I fell
yeah,
into this and people
yeah,
just wanted to work with me. Well, there's a reason they wanted to work with you.
right.
And yeah.
Do you think, on that note, are there a lot of group practice owners, wherever they are in their journey, that somehow avoid or like step around stepping into that role more fully? And by the way, we needed to brainstorm some replacement ideas for CEO.
Yes.
So before we're done, maybe we can do that.
Yeah, that would
But
be great.
are there a lot of folks that kind of tiptoe around that and like don't want to like take it on?
Definitely. It shows up in, hey, like, Lisa, how do I help my therapist doesn't have good client retention? How come they can't figure out how to book the next session or something like that? Well, have you had a conversation with them? Have
Hmm.
you said, this is how I've done it? This is what works. Like you said, people come to a group practice because they want to be led, whether they use those words or not. One of
Right.
the things I hear a lot of GPOs say is like, well, if I don't offer them all these things, why would they join a group practice? Because not everybody is entrepreneurial. They want to come, they want to see their clients. and they aren't thinking business wise. So if somebody cancels regularly, they may not be aware of the impact that that has on their bottom dollar or on client care, on those kinds of things. And so they need somebody who is looking at those things, kind of like what as a coach, I'm looking at the pieces that you're missing and putting those
Hmm.
pieces together. I'm leading. And you're looking for that guidance. Your therapists in your group practice are saying, will you help me go? I bought into your vision. I like who you
Hmm.
are. I love what you stand for. Now guide me. And so many people that I work with and wrestle with that. I think a lot of our culture, so I don't want to be hierarchical. I don't want
Right.
to dictate or anything like that, but that's not really what leadership is,
Hmm.
or CEO or whatever. Yeah, we're going to brainstorm a term
Right.
for that. As the group practice owner, it's your job to step in and follow through on this is who I want to be as a leader. So it doesn't mean you all have to have quarterly meetings with your team or like do the monthly meetings if that's not your leadership style.
Sure.
um, and find out what works for you and your team in order to keep a sustainable business, or you're not going to retain therapists
It's
too,
true. Yeah.
right?
Do you think a lot of us group practice owners are too nice and want too badly to
Mm,
be collaborative and or liked?
yep. When my business, the first group practice ended, I was talking to somebody who she's married to a dentist and they've built like so many offices. And she's like, I don't think therapists are built to be business owners.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
like, I'm going to prove you wrong. But yeah, a lot of us are introverted, like you said. So leaders have to show up. And that can be awkward.
Hmm.
If you think like we come and it's our mission, or we went to school to learn how to help people and serve them, and so I it's awkward to step into guiding and being more directive too.
Yeah. It's a new skill, but the reality is that we have a lot of skills as therapists that
Hmm.
translate really nicely to being in leadership. I was going to read a quote from your email this morning. You
Yeah.
said leadership means showing up fully and intentionally, making decisions, setting direction, and building something that reflects your values. It means stepping into the CEO role, not hovering at the edges of it. I think that's
Yeah.
really nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty key. So let's talk about the skills that therapists have that make them uniquely good at being a leader of a team. What does that look
What
like?
did you notice? You said a couple of years in, you realized that you needed to step into it. Did you see skills that you already had?
I think it took
Or
me a while to really, well, number one, to see myself as a leader and to embrace that as an important role for me to take on.
mm,
But I did notice that people were, coming to me and they were excited to join my team and they
mhm,
liked what I was doing and they wanted to be a part of it. And so I kind of realized at some point it dawned on me that this was not just one or two clinicians. It grew, 5, 6, 7, 10 clinicians, and
mhm.
they needed some guidance. And I think I don't know, it was just sort of like an unfolding process. Like I didn't go to CEO school, and go
Yep.
like, all right, how do I do this? I did invest in good business coaching. Shout out
Yeah.
to Lisa's services.
Mm,
Business coaching and mastermind groups for group
yeah.
practice owners, the two things I think helped me the most be the best version of a leader that I could be. So if people don't have a business coach and you're in Canada, especially, reach
Yeah.
out to Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what are some of the skills that you have already when you sit and you are curious about
Hmm.
people, you know how to listen? Um, you already, as a therapist, should be a couple of steps ahead of where your client is, too,
Hmm.
right? And so, not that we're like, you have to go this way as a clinician, but you can see it. I used to describe myself to my clinical clients of it's almost like we're on a sand dune and I'm at the top and I can see over there, and I'm helping you figure out how to climb up here and get there. So we have some of those skills already. And then when you start a group practice, you've got some of that motivation, some of that energy in there. You've got that curiosity around building systems. You already built a private practice and systems that worked for you, or else you wouldn't be full and considering bringing somebody on. And so you know how to share, or you have the information to share with others. You likely have been led at other points in your life and know what worked or didn't work
Definitely.
in there. And yeah, I think the other part that I hear people saying, well, if I'm a leader and I have to have a difficult conversation, like what if things aren't going well? We also already have the skills for that. It's just a little scarier because it feels like confrontation. But the
Right.
more you listen and take that information, be curious, and then translate it so that it solves their problem while
Hmm.
sticking to your boundaries and your needs in there, the better you are as a leader and stepping in there. And we know how to make people feel special, and we know how to say, like
Yeah.
guide and lead sessions. You know how to
Hmm.
say, here's the next session, here's what a plan looks like. We've got a lot of those skills already.
Yeah, you included holding space and staying
Mhm.
regulated, which is like something that a lot of leaders wouldn't think about necessarily, but having those difficult conversations, um, well, it's easy for both parties to get dysregulated
Yes.
and or for the leader to not do a very good job of creating a safe space and being able to have a productive conversation. And there's a lot of leaders out there of businesses, all kinds, who just never got those skills and they
Yeah.
could do so much more if they did. We should go out there and teach all the leaders of other businesses how to do those things.
Yeah.
Now that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I
I
think,
feel like my team, I mean, I definitely have some weaknesses as a leader, definitely being too nice, wanting people to like me, et cetera. And that leads to not making the best decisions. But I think a lot of people have told me over the years that they really felt like I'm good at listening, right? To your
yeah.
point, good at listening and having conversations, even if it includes them leaving the practice, when it includes them leaving
Mhm.
the practice, and or being, being dissatisfied with compensation or all those kinds of things that come
Yes.
up. It's easy for a leader to be get emotional or, like I said, dysregulated. But I feel like I've done a good job of that over the years.
Mm.
And then, if anything, been too nice and given too much. But that's
Yep.
something that I figured out how to kind of self-correct over time.
Yeah. Well, then you recognize, hey, I'm resenting what I said yes to, or I wish I would
Right.
have said no. And so a lot of times, what would you tell a client if they needed to set a boundary? Now
Exactly.
come and implement that. I was going to say too, that's also one of the reasons why community is so important to me as a group practice owner.
Hmm.
If know you're going to have this difficult conversation, who can you talk to or talk it through or
Right.
regulate you or vent before you go into that conversation, in order to know that, hey, I know what I'm standing for. I know what's important in here as opposed to all the emotions that
That's
we
so helpful.
feel. Right?
It really is. Yeah. I'm fortunate enough to have been in a group for the last 5 years, which is amazing.
Wow.
Of basically five, including myself, five group practice owners, and we just meet once a month and we
Hmm.
talk about all the exciting things and a lot about the challenging things that we have to do. But it makes all the difference in the world to not feel alone in doing those
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
Because in your business, yeah, everyone is looking to you and you are the leader, very much so, right?
Yeah.
Whether you embrace it or not, you are. But having other friends and colleagues to kind of be on that journey with you and to have the feeling of being understood and then also guidance on like, how do I deal with this situation? This is what it's bringing up for me.
Yes.
Obviously, see your own therapist if you need to,
Yeah.
because this work brings up a lot of personal, emotional,
Hmm.
psychological things, and it almost, in my opinion, forces us to look at those things and
Yeah.
address them. I heard somebody say years ago that my business is my best life coach. I'm like, it's so true.
Mm, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So true. It brings up all your insecurities and your strengths, and
Right.
you get to dive in again and learn about
So
yourself some
fun.
more.
Another growth opportunity.
Yeah.
Yay.
One of the things I also was thinking as a leader, that doesn't mean you have to do it all alone, too.
Right.
And so I think Maxwell wrote, I always forget the exact how many numbers, but irrefutable laws of leadership.
Mm,
And I was listening to it and remember feeling, well, I don't have all of those skills. So how can I be a leader? And he kept reinforcing in it, like, play to the strengths that you have, know where you need to and can be stretched as a leader, and then find people to fill in the blanks where you can't do that. I suck at bookkeeping. Like, that should not be something that I am regularly
same.
doing. And so recognizing if I am not trying to figure out books, I actually have more capacity to be with my team or to figure out a system kind of thing, because that's what I do better at. Getting to a certain size in your group practice where it feels like I'm doing it all. I thought I needed a clinical director. What I
Hmm.
really needed when it was an administrative manager, because I liked helping the clinicians. I wasn't loving the admin side of things anymore. So then knowing who do I need to supplement so that I can lead well rather than dragging because I am doing all these things that don't play well to my strengths.
That's such a good point. I think that's, yeah, there's so much to be said about finding out what you're actually naturally good at and focusing on
Mhm.
that and then delegating the rest as
Yep.
much as is possible. Yeah, quick bookkeeping and accounting, all that, not for
Yeah.
me either. Yeah, that's one of the bills that I pay every month that I'm very happy to pay, specifically
Yeah.
to the bookkeeping company for both of my businesses. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Please don't ever make me do that. And insurance billing for me also, I used to do it
Mm,
back in the day, but I don't enjoy that. I
yeah.
don't like anything about that. No thanks.
Yeah. My right-hand person has been on mat leave. And so as I downsize, I'm like, oh, when are you coming back?
Right? Yeah.
Because these are not my love.
No, no. Sometimes you got to step in and do it, but not by
Yeah.
choice if you have a choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. If someone's listening to this podcast and they recognize themselves kind of hovering at the edges of that CEO role, what kind of next step or action do you recommend that they take?
Mm. Connecting with a coach. Yeah,
Hmm.
and like you said, like finding other like-minded people who are stepping into that, not just are frustrated with, is should I be in that role? And yes, I am a huge proponent for reading, for podcasts to get some of that, but that's like information gathering.
Right.
And so finding some of those practical ways. So I am here. I coach Americans as well as Canadians, even though my focus is with Canadians. Finding someone who can hold you accountable, can challenge you, and also cheer you on as you try out those skills, step into that role.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, can you tell us little bit more about your services? Because I
Mm,
think there's a lot of business coaches out there, but there's not that many that really know, like you do, what it takes to build a group practice and actually love your business.
yes.
Can you tell us more
Yeah.
about your services, both like one-on-one, group, and community?
Yeah. I offer individual coaching. And so that's one on one, your specific goals, and on your timeline. I have a few different packages that I offer. I have a membership, which is primarily based around that. I'm not alone in this. So we have 3 monthly calls. One of them is particularly around connecting, and then use Voxer in between to kind of chat and say, hey, I have to have this difficult conversation. Can you cheer me on, kind of thing. And then I just opened up a mastermind to do a year together in looking at numbers, building systems, financial systems that actually work for you, that you don't hide from or
Hmm.
avoid. And I also offer retreats. So I have one coming up in the fall, and then we're going to Costa Rica in
Oh
January
my gosh,
as
that's
well. So
fantastic.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So those would be the services that I provide.
Do you realize as you're saying all that how amazing it is that you've created all these resources? Like
Mm,
that's so fantastic. Good
mm,
job.
thank you.
Yeah. And it'll
Mm,
be in the show notes, of course, but folks can go to grouppracticenetwork.ca
yeah.
and check out all those offerings. I think that's so cool. I
Yeah.
honestly wish you and I were, it's funny you say, I wish you and I were around or somebody like us was around
Yes.
when we started because I feel like I probably would have gone further faster, but in
Mm,
reality, we all have our own journey and it's probably more helpful. Here I'm coaching myself. Probably more
yeah.
helpful just to be grateful for the way things unfolded because that was what needed to happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But now we can help people avoid some of those things or go further and see them step into something that maybe was on the horizon or could have been possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for the work that you're doing. I really appreciate
Thank
it. And
you.
it's been fun meeting you and getting to know you. And I think some of our history is similar, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And certainly shared values. And so it's awesome to be connected with you. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.